Hi, today I'm going to be talking through the skill of clarifying, and that's a really important part of learning to read. So clarifying is all about vocabulary and helping children understand precise meanings of the words they're reading. So if you take, for example, this sentence, they wandered to Granny's house with BB pointing out the names of different trees and places where the other animals of the forest lived. That word wandered, children will understand that it's probably a replacement for went. They'll probably know that it means walking. But there's more precise meaning to that. Wandered kind of implies they're going quite slowly, they might not go directly there, they're busy talking, that's what they're concentrating on, not the walking part. So that's what I mean by clarifying, is helping children really understand the difference between those words. When you're talking about verbs with children, it's really useful to compare them to similar words and really start to break down what they mean. So if we go back to the word wandered, if you compare that to walked, strolled, limped, strode, they all mean somebody's going somewhere on foot from one place to another, but the meaning is very different, and it shows us something quite specific about how that character is moving and even how that character is behaving. And you wouldn't expect children to understand all of those, but the more we can have those conversations, the more they'll understand about the text that they're reading. One of the issues that children come up with is they come across words that they've seen before, but in unusual places. So if you take the example of this sentence here from Little Red Riding Hood, it says the little girl screamed for help with all her might. The word might is a noun in that sentence, whereas it's normally a verb, and it's very different from the word might that children normally hear. So I might go to school tomorrow, but it might be snowing, so I might not. It kind of shows different possibilities, whereas the might here is all about strength. We know words can have more than one meaning, so it's useful to draw children's attention to words where they'll probably be really familiar with one meaning but might not know the other. Particularly with this, with all her might, it's not necessarily something that we use very often. So that's one way to help clarify, is showing those words in a different situation with different meaning. These are some of the things you can do when you're working on clarifying with children. We need to pick the words carefully. If we're giving children a text that is really challenging and they don't understand a majority of the words, and we're having to go through and clarify with them, what you're going to end up with is a very confused child that's probably not going to enjoy the reading very much. It'd be useful to just pick some interesting words, maybe pick one per page over a few pages, and then leave it at that. Give children a definition of the word you're looking for and seeing if they can find the word in the text. So you might say, if I show you this text here, to his astonishment he found a wolf in a pink frilly cap and nightgown chasing the little girl who was making all the noise. Can you find part of the text that shows somebody is surprised? So they might be able to find that bit around astonishment. They might not know what astonishment means, but by the context of the rest of the sentence they know it's not very often you see a wolf in a pink frilly cap, so you probably are going to be surprised. And then once they've found that kind of part of the text where the answer is, then you can do some work around astonishment. We start to ask children to find a specific word that matches the meaning of the word that we've given them. For example, here you might say, find and copy one word that means the same as 8. Now what you want to do with the child here is, instead of just guessing gobbled, you want them to test it out. So I would get them to cover the word gobbled and put the word 8 in its place and test it. Does it work? He ate up the little girl, and with a satisfied smile he patted his bulging tummy. Yes, it works. In that case, that's the correct answer. In the part of this text, you might say, find me a word that means ill. When they arrived at Granny's house, they entered and saw the poorly little lady in bed. Now, if a child doesn't know what the word entered means, they might guess that. So then you get them to cover up that word and put ill in its place, test it out. When they arrived at Granny's house, they ill and saw the poorly little lady. Doesn't sound right, so that's not the right one, and that's fine. You can say, great, well done for having a go, let's try another word in that sentence. Of course the answer is poorly. As children become really confident in that, you can actually get them to apply this to a bigger piece of text. So then you're not just giving them one sentence or one paragraph. You might say, on this page I want you to look for this. I'll give you an example with this. So in this text here you might say, find 2 words that show the big bad wolf thought it was funny. Now, children might pick smiled, and you might smile if you think something's funny, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're finding it funny, you're laughing. So the words here really are laughed and chuckled. The final point about clarifying is that we don't have to know the meaning of every single word. It's really useful to model to children that actually it's okay not to know the answer to something. As an adult, there's a lot of words where I know the gist of it and I understand it if I hear or read it, but if you ask me to define it, I would really struggle. So it's okay to say, I don't know actually, let's ask another family member, or let's look in a dictionary or go on a dictionary website and explore the meaning together. I think it's really good for children to see that it's okay not to know, but this is how we can find out the answer. So those were some ideas on how to help children with clarifying. There's lots more ideas on how to support your child with reading coming soon.